Hi, it's Jenn Hayward from the Jenn Hayward Show. It is, I was going to say it's Monday, but it's not. It's not Monday. It's Tuesday because Monday was a holiday. And what a holiday it was. Today we have Adventure Seeker Sarah on the show. I'm going to just apologize for it's a little more cloudy than it usually is. I'm using a different computer because mine broke. Um, if you're watching from my page or Sarah's page, try and go to the Jenn Hayward Show link or Adventure Sarah Seeker. That way you can interact with us in the comments. For some reason, it won't let you on the personal. All right. Well, Sarah's preparing. So every Tuesday is fun because it's Adventure Seeker Sarah Day. And so she's telling us about all her adventures. And she has adventures like every hour of every day. It's insane. But until she's here, I wanted to say a few things. First, I'm just going to list the facts. I'm just going to list facts. I'm not going to make jokes. I'm going to list facts. So we had a occupation or a protest, whatever side you were on. You cannot go anywhere on the internet and to comment on anything without someone going, yeah, but you can't do it. This is a fact. You can go to a mom's group and say, who is the best pediatrician? And someone's like, screw doctors. It's a little insane. So they have cleared things, is my understanding. There was a shoplifter with a gun that got Rideau Center shut down. There was freezing rain that canceled school buses, but there was no actual freezing rain. Thank you for that, Ottawa. Oh, my connection's bad today. But also, Pat King, whatever your politics, he went to court today and they didn't deny him bail, but they didn't grant it. But he said he's a defense attorney, said they were worried. This is Pat King. They were worried he would get COVID in jail. I'm not making jokes because you just can't. Come on. But I have made this a convoy-free zone for a bit. So I decided I'm going to just tell a cute little story, and then we'll bring Sarah on. Because I don't want to talk about those things. I just don't. But what I do want to talk about is music, right? Everyone likes music. We had a rule in our car. Who chooses the music? It can be like marriage ending type of arguments. And by the way, just go share this live now. Say it coming up, Adventure Seeker Sarah. What I'm doing is riffing and killing some time so everyone can share and get people excited. So Sarah has more viewers. Aha, smart. So when you are driving your car as a married couple or as a couple or as whoever, there'll be arguments over the music for sure. Our rule was always the driver gets to pick the music. And that worked perfectly until my husband got a license. As soon as he got a license, he started driving all the time. He's like, it's more comfortable. So the difference between my husband and I in music is not a little bit. We almost didn't get married because we couldn't choose a song. Like we do not have the same taste in music. So he will listen to something ska, and then I'll listen to something lighthearted, and then he'll be annoyed by my music. So he'll raise it and like, hey, here's the Dayglow Abortions, which is a real name of a real band. And then I'll be like, here's some Barry Manilow, bitch. And then he goes, and it goes like this back and forth. And it's been going like that for 22 years. There is no happy ending to the story, except for I know who the Dayglow Abortions are, and I have my husband to thank for that. So anyone who said marriage isn't worth it, it has expanded my mind and my brain. And I kind of wonder, like, in our culture, in Indigenous culture, the drum is such a big piece. It is the heartbeat of Mother Earth. And I wonder, though, if it just started with like two people trying to annoy each other. And it was just like, bong, bong, bong. Oh, yeah, you think you can talk? Well, watch my drumming. And then everyone was like, wait a minute. That feels like a drum beat. Let's make it so. And thus, I have just given a false teaching that someone is probably going to take and say, no, Jenn Hayward said it was true. And I'm going to be called out in about 3 months for that. So welcome to 2022. All right. So share, don't share. Everyone on right now. There we go. Lots of viewers coming on, coming off. I am always thrilled for this next guest. When Sarah says adventure, it could mean going to a museum. It could mean going to Costa Rica. It could mean going to the moon. It doesn't matter. She's an adventurer. She has raised adventurers. I know all of her children. In fact, I have a daily conversation with her 23-month-old. And this morning, he was so adorable. He was like, no talk, TV show. I was like, all right, he knows what he wants. He's like his mom. So let's bring Adventure Sika Sarah. Oh, Sika.
Hello.
Hi, welcome. So what have you been up to this week?
What haven't I been up to? Well, of course, I'm trying to catch up a little bit because I skipped the country for a week and had lots of things to sort of catch up on because of that. I've been working with Josh to get that beer thing ready for launch, so that's exciting.
So for those who don't know, Josh is my husband and Sarah's business partner. They love beer. I'll let you finish, but yeah, so they know what it is.
Yeah, so it's basically just come along and drink with us. Josh makes great videos of beer reviews. We're going to have guests on to drink with us. We're both going to be writing about our experiences drinking. So, that's coming up. So that's been a fun thing to work on. And the thing that struck me the most this week, though, that I just need to tell you about and need to tell everybody about because it's so important for adventuring is budget airlines. So I don't know how much, that's not the name, but there are all these low cost carriers that for some reason I hadn't really paid much attention to in the past.
Especially the last 2 years, we've kind of been busy, locked down.
Right. So we did fly with Swoop once, and I remember it being when they first started expanding their routes. Swoop is based out of Canada, and so we went to Edmonton, I think, for like $24 a person or something silly. But I've heard of these budget airlines in the States that go all kinds of places, and for some strange reason, I don't know what made me do it, but I went to check Swoop again this week.
Okay.
So I went online and thought, I wonder where they go. I wonder how much it costs. And since then, I've planned trips to BC, to Newfoundland, to Puerto Vallarta. Like, they go all over the place. And sometimes it's under $100.
And that's insane. That really is. I know how much I paid to get the Zambia. It was a lot of money.
Now, of course, it is a budget airline, so you're not getting meals. You have to pay for extra bags. Like, there's a trade-off here, right? But still.
Well, yeah, I'm uncomfortable anyway on a plane. So anything short, I'll budget. I mean, when you're going across, I'm a Qatar Air girl, right? I like just this much more room, and I like little bags of popcorn. And those are pretty much charge me the extra grand. So Swoop is one. There's another one I forget the name of. It's new in Canada. Everyone was talking about. I was looking at it, and it was like on May 25th or something. I could go to Edmonton for it was $29 or something. I forget the name of it, but
interesting.
Let's go.
So the other one in the States. Now, this is not quite as applicable to us, but it kind of is if you're very adventurous. So I've discovered that there are several airports within driving distance of here. Now, for me, within driving distance is like 8 hours, but still, several airports within driving distance of here that you can go to, use their park and fly for like $6 a day, and then fly all over the place for like $20.
So this is really, so do you think, when is your blog has launched? I think that you should absolutely put this on there.
I absolutely will. It is on the list of things I need to write about because everyone needs to know that that's a possibility.
All right. So we're going to actually, when you write that, we'll find this and we'll link it to it. Because I think that's a great idea, because that has been my deterrent for travel is, okay, I'm going to Saskatchewan, so road trip, or going here, so road trip. And road trips are fun, but again, been married to the same guy for 22 years. We're running out of things to talk about. And well,
even so, like, that's kind of what makes me reluctant to travel distances with the kids. Like, we drive lots of places, and that's great, but we only have so much time in one
That's right, because you have 24 kids.
Yeah. So now we could go to Newfoundland because it only costs $60 a person to fly there, right? Like, that actually makes it within reach. So
I'm going to go to Swoop directly after this and
right?
book myself a flight and just tell you, this is where I'm going.
Now I do have to tell you, to be fair. So when we flew Swoop to Edmonton, there aren't very many flights that leave from Ottawa. There are only a few places that they go from Ottawa.
Drive to Montreal though. Hey?
No, we went to Hamilton and we like hung out with friends for a couple of days and then hopped on a plane.
Yeah.
So, and again, their park and fly is really cheap because it's one of the smaller airports. And
my first trip to Africa, we did that. Angela and I drove to Toronto, left our car. They actually picked us up at the airport with our car. It was an advanced service. And then we drove home. For long travels, next time I'll just pay for a hotel. And because if you're by yourself and you've traveled 36 hours, you're tired. Or Montreal's good because it's only 2 hours away.
Yeah. So that's a whole new world opening up for me.
The budget airlines. Well, she'll never be here. So you'll just see me and Josh going, no. It's definitely relatable to the Jenn Hayward show to join you. And Josh will be like, do they have beer? His niche is actually really smart. That beer thing is like, no. I can go anywhere and talk about beer because everybody likes beer except for me. Except for, even when I drank, I didn't like beer. So that's great. Oh, hang on. We have a guest. We have a viewer who says beer. Joshua James. He does
beer.
All right. So booking these adventures, you're going to look in and write more about that. So you've been doing a lot of planning because you're doing something in Niagara. Are you able to talk about that?
Yes, I will talk about that. So we're going to Niagara a little bit for filming. So I think I've probably mentioned this on here before, but we have a YouTube show that's launching in the spring.
Yeah.
So that's everything we've done for the past year, basically clustered into episodes of individual area, which will be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to go do some filming for that. But also I have this interesting new thing going on.
Again.
So Adventure Drives is this really cool company that's based out of the Niagara region. And they do these really fun scavenger hunts where you meet a host, they give you some physical items, you have an app that you download, there's some augmented reality, you're like going on a ghost hunt, essentially. Most of them are paranormal themed. There are a few that aren't. There's a Viking treasure hunt.
Yeah, my husband will like that one.
It is really cool. So I like things, of course, that like integrate technology with a little bit of history with, some fun ways.
I remember you guys when I first met you and right away we were like soul friends, but I won't lie. I kind of thought you guys were nerdy because they were just walking. They were like, we're going for a walk. And I'm like, super. And this is before your baby. So all your kids were older. So first of all, they're walking for pleasure. Gross. But then they had like, what are you doing? And you were catching wizards or something like that, and I was like,
it was the Harry Potter game, the one that was similar to the Pokemon one. Yeah,
it was and you did the Pokemon thing. That's right too.
Yes, we did.
And I just remember, and we've had this conversation. I think your son has actually tapped my silly out. Like that's where all my silly is directed at. But like I just look at that and I was like, I don't know. I'm just like, I'll just crush my candy. That makes way more sense on my couch. So I know you love technology, and it's infectious, right? So it's sort of like Josh going to a museum, right? It's like by myself, I'm like, all right, yeah, that's a statue. That's it. And he's like, oh my God, a piece of living history. And you're like, look at this plaque. So when you're around people who are enthusiastic about things, it's easier to get enthusiastic for those of us who are dead inside. So I think that's great. So what is it called again?
Adventure Drives. So the exciting part of this is that they are starting an Ottawa branch. So for all of our Ottawa viewers, we're going to be running Adventure Drives here in Ottawa starting in May. So
that is
going
awesome.
to Niagara to try a few of them to get some on the ground training so that we can start doing the same thing here. And it's just so cool. Like I love that integration of all sorts of different things that I find interesting. It's kind of like a perfect.
And it all came in together. So are you okay if we talk about how this came about? It's the craziest thing. So first of all, let's backtrack that we're like sisters. And then I remember on New Year's Eve, we were all just talking and we're like, no, this is a year some things break out for us. And I was like, yeah, it is. I'm also going through a bankruptcy, but it's still going to be a good year. And then lots of things came by my desk, which is really weird, where through my networks or whatever. And I was like, not for me. hey, Sarah might like, and this was one of those things. And it was someone who you probably knew but didn't know. And now you forged a better connection, which I bring this up because Sarah and I both believe in connections. We believe that is what we're all meant to do in the world. And because of our connections and just like, yeah, because we don't just do that for ourselves. We don't just do that for our best friends or our family. It's anytime I hear someone say something, oh, I wonder, yeah, someone else might really enjoy that. And you do the same. And because of this, here you are, because you are the way you are. You're open, honest to the universe and to the world. This is what I am. This is what I want. It literally just, someone was like, oh my God, I need help with this. And I was like, as me going, no, I don't have the interest in it, but I know a family who does. And so now you're getting to go spend a week doing all these fun adventures. And I'm like, I'm working on spreadsheets, and I'm like, I don't regret it.
Spreadsheets are fun in their own way.
They are. It is an adventure every day. And I don't say that in any sort of, I just think it's awesome. And I mean, we're both, everyone we know is just curating the life that they want. So, but just hearing your enthusiasm about this trip and how you're integrating, because it's not just new business, it's not just your travel series, but your family is there with you. And I can say this because I'm friends with your family. I do some writing with your eldest girl. And we went to Starbucks when it was open, and when like legally we were allowed to. I just want to put that out there. And it was, what was so amazing was she just went on about what an amazing life she has. And she goes, well, there's nothing my mom can't do. And I was like, I didn't say she could, but she was like already like, mom is this. And because you've crafted, go for it. It may not work, but give everything your shot and try. And so you've raised 4 girls, and you're definitely raising a little boy who believes the same. And in fact, you've helped Josh and I even see that we have a lot more potential. I mean, I've always tried things. Clearly, I'm like, hey, why don't I try and tank $1 million business? Done, right? But we do things, and I think that's great. So back to this. So you're going to Niagara, and so when does you think it'll come to Ottawa? Because I want to be the first.
Mid-May.
May?
Yeah.
That's so soon.
I know.
All right, so sign me up for the
when
first
that
one.
happens. Yeah. I will. I think we're starting with one particular one here, and then we're going to expand a little bit from there. So I will definitely post about that as soon as it happens.
Well, absolutely. Well, come here and talk about it too. Oh, we got a thumbs up from Jason Patronak. All right.
Really the integration of the technology with, like, there's always a little bit of history weaved into the stories. Plus you're going out with family or friends, making some connections. It's a really neat thing. And that leads me back to, I think, the other thing I told you about, where technology was sort of combining with history, when I went to the Ontario Archaeology Museum in London.
Okay.
So
you got me already. The Museum of Archaeology. What?
No, really, it's exciting. So they had the augmented reality, same sort of thing. They had this new thing that they were just testing out. The girls got to try it first before everyone else, because they were, looking to show us this new thing that was coming up. And basically you go out into the area where the longhouses were, and you scan a plaque, and all of a sudden you're in this augmented reality version of this, and you can go around and like collect pottery shards and build this thing, and like it's a whole little adventure.
Wow.
But it's a way to add that, we're continuing to evolve. I like seeing museums that are trying new things and integrating technology.
So great. See, I'm a little older than you, and I come from Saskatchewan. So our biggest museum, and Josh will attest because he's probably listening, is the Western Development Museum. And like, that's it. Like we have a few, and it has neat things. Like here's the wagon and here's the thing, but you can't touch anything and you can't interact with anything. So as a kid, everyone would say, we're going to the fun museum. And that was what it was called, like the fun museum. And I was like, I guess we'll just look at the stuff. So I like to hear that they're evolving, especially for kids who want to learn.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. There are tons of museums like that. Like, honestly, lots that are around here. But I think, my kids have been to like every museum imaginable.
Yeah.
We go
to the boat museum 48 times in Nova Scotia.
They've actually only been there once, and not even all of them have been there. But
I've been there a lot,
including some really large, famous museums, right?
Yeah.
But still, all of the children unanimously agree that their favorite museum was this tiny little museum in a church in New Jersey called the Museum of Early Trades and Crafts.
Okay.
And so what they liked about that was that all of the exhibits were interactive. Every single section, there were drawers that you could pull out, things that you could handle. You could feel the weight of an iron. You could like piece together little bits of magnets with fabric on them to make a quilt. One thing that they really particularly enjoyed was they had these little note cards where you could write your favorite part of the museum, your favorite exhibit, and you stick it in this little thing, and then other people can read them later. So
that's neat. So
they found lots of interesting ways. Now, although that wasn't, integrating technology, they still found lots of interesting ways to make it engaging.
Like, how would they do that then for something like, because I was at the Smithsonian. Can you imagine what a waste, especially this was Jenn pre-weight loss, 2013, just waddling around to 400 pounds, New York City. And we're like, oh, I guess I'll go to the Smithsonian. And I did it in an hour. I walked by, and I know Josh, he just about divorced me. He was like, how? And I was like, I don't know. I was in the Egypt exhibit and I was like, all right, that's some gold. That's another gold. So they couldn't make it interactive. And I know now I'm in a different place where I have more interest, but I know back then, even like I went to the art museum and I was like, I don't know. Hey, look, there's paintings and look, there's red. It's just like my brain doesn't have that. But when people make things more interesting to learn, then I like learning. I'm very kinetic. So orally, like if you put me in a lecture, it's like, I honestly can't hear. That's why I don't have a podcast because I actually can't just, you've been on the phone with me. I'm like, what's going on? It's not that I'm not paying attention. I'm just not receiving the information. But here
everybody learns differently, right?
Well, and I think that's what you guys are highlighting. So in the adventure work that you guys are doing, there's a lot more coming, and you and I have a couple secrets that we can't announce yet, but we will next week. Next week. But some good things. So you're going to be in Niagara. This thing will be starting.
Yeah,
that's insane. I have to say, in a good way. Because so many people do like, okay, well, we're going to make sure this happens and this happens. Sometimes you just have to do it. Now,
I do make sure things happen. I just do it very quickly.
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying is that you do the analysis and you do all those things, but sometimes you just get in there and you do it. But some people will hum and haw and worry. But it's like I don't know, some hockey guy said the shots you don't take. Like Wayne Gretzky, he's like the hockey guy. And that's what I admire about your family. I mean, we're similar, but it's just our kids are older. And so our idea of adventure, like if in Costa Rica, for example, I'm pretty sure we're not getting up into paragliding. If you were there, I might be convinced.
Awesome. I don't know.
If it's just Josh and I'm like, where's the beach? Where's my relaxation? But it's still adventure. Like I've clearly done things. But I like to see the adventure in the everyday. And that's what Adventure Seeker Sarah, for those who don't follow, and I'm sorry, I've been so busy talking to you. Boom. No, that's... I put you on.
While you're finding it, I'm going to tell another museum story, okay?
Yes, please do. Yes.
I like museums. And it's another great example of a museum surprising me with its interactivity. So, as you know, we go to New York City fairly often, like when we can, obviously not right now, because it's close enough to drive to. And there are lots of cool things there. So, we have this, the Ingenium museums here, the Science and Tech, the Air and Space, the Agriculture Museum. You buy a pass for those museums, but they belong to a whole entire association of science centers. So if you have a pass for any one of those science centers, this is my budget tips day. If you have a pass for any one of those science centers, you get into all the rest of them for free. So it's all these science centers and museums that you can get into for free. And most people don't realize that this reciprocal agreement is a thing. So everywhere we go with this pass, we've probably used our pass outside of Ottawa more than inside. We go to the Ontario Science Centre. We go every city we go to. We look at what science center is included because they're all over Canada, the US, and the rest of the world.
Okay, so that's another, because I feel the need to tell people that Sarah's not rich.
No.
And that's another myth people have about adventures is that, okay, it takes, now, of course, some of my larger adventures have taken money, of course, that I used to have, but you find ways to budget and so your budget airlines and stuff, but sometimes it's just like, okay, I've gone on adventures with my husband on your advice. There's just a drive to Perth and walking around Perth and just seeing different things that someone has mentioned. So on your blog, you've done a lot about Perth or different places. And I'm like, I've heard about this. So it becomes an adventure because it's not something I'm discovering. It's actually because I'm like, this is the trending thing to do. And so that's what you're kind of doing, is making adventure trending. So people definitely need to go to your channels. Adventure Seeker Sarah on. Let's do it.
Literally everything. Instagram, TikTok. I have my website up. I'm on Facebook. Like, you find me all. It's even on WhatsApp now. I had to be for international travel. But right, I was going somewhere with that.
Yes. Oh, okay. I thought that was it. Cheap
no,
science center. Okay, carry on.
But here's the thing. I always look, because you never know what's going to be awesome when you don't think it's going to be. So I thought, we're in New York City. We have this pass. Some of the museums are free. Let's just look and see what's on the list. And I seem to recall when I looked before, it was kind of like what I would consider the second tier museums, but I was like, it's free. So let's take a look. And I saw the Math Museum was there. Oh. And I thought, wow, that sounds dreadful. But I'm going to click on it just in case. And oh my goodness, the whole entire museum is interactive exhibits teaching you about different math concepts. It's insane. That
actually would be interesting.
It was one of the best museums ever. It's small. It's like right in downtown New York City, but I mean, small, but every single exhibit is something that you're like getting in there and doing something to learn a different math concept. And I almost didn't even click on it because I thought, boy, that sounds boring. And I like math, but who wants to go to a math museum, right?
Well, now everybody does. Where was this again?
In New York City.
In New York City. Okay. Math Museum, New York City. That likely is not getting regular shout outs. So do that.
It's fantastic. Like, and everyone I've spoken to that has been there, which is a small subset of people, to be fair, mostly math teachers. But no, everybody agrees that it's fantastic. And when we first got there were school groups there. So, that's.
I have some comedian friends in New York. I'm going to tell them to go. I said, you want some new material, and a comedian once told me, I'm not mentioning the comedian because he's turned out to be quite right-wing conservative and dresses up very poorly. Okay, it's Aaron Berg. But back in the day, he's still funny. I know. But when I first met him, like, he's just Aaron Berg, comedian, talking about his life. And the best piece of advice he gave me was just to live your life. Right. And so that's why I don't create stories. I live them and then I tell them. That's why I get paid. You are doing the same thing, but you're trying to create a movement of adventure seekers. And that's what I love about the work that you do. So when you see your videos, you can see the connection between, because you're also a photographer, so that helps, right? When I go on vacation, people get a lot of selfies of me, a lot of cleavage shots from my husband, and some animals, right? But you're like the adventure and the nature, and like the nature of everywhere you are has gotten me interested, not in knowing anything about nature, but about taking nature pictures. So when I was in Zambia, I was like, hang on, Sarah and Josh, now I have a list of people are going to want a picture of this. I don't know what it is. I just put it up there and I'll literally say, here you go, nature lovers. But in a way, it's connecting.
It's another way to connect
to where I was in Zambia. And it's a small thing. So when you're adventuring, sometimes taking pictures of something that's not something that appeals to you might actually, because I just want 3,000 pictures of your kids, right? But when you have all the other things, you can just see how it all fits in, because the beauty or the non-beauty in some cases, whatever it may be, although you're pretty much a good eye for beauty. So I think that's one reason people should follow you alone, is to feel that connection and to get excited about life. When you're around Adventure Seeker Sarah, you get excited about life because everything is exciting.
It's because I'm just so ridiculously enthusiastic about everything that it's difficult not to be excited.
Well, I always worry that I'm like, is she going to crash one day? Because you're always so, but because I was the other day, we have a project, a mutual project that you're going to be a part of. And I was just like, I'm way too excited. But I remember that's how I used to feel when I first started Go For It. That's how I felt when I did little things. Because I mean, basically, I ran a company that took my soul for a little bit, and I'm just finding things that I like again. But it's that excitement that means continue on. If something is feeling that good, and that reason I go to you and I go to Josh and I go to different people is, am I being too excited? And you're like, no. And I need to hear that it's okay.
We're
Because
supposed to be excited about things. Like that's
it's
what
not,
makes life
though. I
awesome.
have to tell you, so many of us grew up being told no emotions, no this, no that. When you're dealing with people with trauma, it makes it hard sometimes to just enjoy because, oh, it's going to end, or to enjoy that moment. And that's what, like, when I came back from Zambia, I knew, and you knew, we all knew that's probably the end of Go For It. And I'm going to have a very interesting 2022 personally. But guess what? We did it anyway. And because I was like, look, and instead of looking at all I lost, well, look at all I did. Right. And then just take back. So I get excited about certain things, not as much as you, but I'm also, again,
that would be
47 years old, and I have less interest. I mean, that's the thing too. You're interested in so much, but when I hear something I am interested in going on in your life, I'm like, that's what I love. You'll just take anyone, not anyone, but you'll take people along for the ride. So if I'm like, you know, I'd really like to do that with you, you're like, let's do it. Like, I want to learn paint pouring. Let's make this happen.
You wouldn't believe how many people I've invited to go take them through Lusk Cave in Gatineau Park because it's just so cool. And it's like, it's a little bit treacherous if you don't know your way through. So it's nice to have someone who's been there. I've guided strangers through that cave. So
and that's one of those things that you know not to ask me to do with you. I want to do the nice when we're going to the spa, when we're pouring paint, and when, well, not wine anymore, but when we can have some crackers. But by the way, I posted a picture for anyone of me and my anniversary, and it was I got a lot of messages, so it actually shows people pay attention. But are you okay? Do you
holding a glass of ginger ale and they thought you were drinking?
I was like, no, it's like my friend bought me non-alcoholic wine, and it's just like juice. But I just, it felt fancy, but it was so weird. So when
nice that people care, though, right?
So, I'm going to give you a suggestion. Sometimes I think it would be good to have a segment of alcohol-free places for like sober traveling, because I think that's a big thing. I mean, I clearly live with, the beer guy, so I'm not around alcohol. It's okay. But if someone was drinking wine every day somewhere I was, or if we're going to Tuscany. I don't know if I could go to Italy now. Do you know what I mean? Or France. I'd be like, I'll have the water, and it would be too much.
So to loop back around to the beer thing, that actually is something I was planning on writing about because, as you know, I really like beer.
Yeah.
As you also know, I've spent an awful lot of time pregnant in my life.
Like, I'm surprised you're not pregnant now, to be honest.
So I have tried a lot of alcohol-free beers, and there are some good ones out there. And
I remember you saying that, and you're like, you were so excited when you were pregnant, like, oh my God, I'm like, okay, there's also juice. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, the beer is tasty. So I do plan to write about ones I find as I go along. When I do find a brewery, I often look to see if they have something available.
It's smart.
And we'll specifically write about that because
I think Josh should too. I mean, I think
they're still delicious.
I think that beer thing guy, he's so weird, like, because he can do 2 beer and he's just fine, right? So we know that's not what happened with me and wine. So okay, so you're going.
So here's what we've got coming up. I'll give you the rough breakdown. As you know, things can always change a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
There's Niagara.
Yeah.
Nova Scotia.
Yeah, and that's the end of March, right?
Yeah. Possibly back to Costa Rica, but we'll see about that. That is happening at some point in the year, but might be happening sooner rather than later. Thanks to Swoop, we're going to go to Newfoundland.
Okay. I want to come to Newfoundland. When are we going?
Yeah, you can do that. I have a trip to BC planned. I'm going to take Adam to Puerto Vallarta for his birthday. Nice. So like these are all things that are
Dibs, Lynn, dibs. I'm staying with you. Dibs. By the way, this is on her son and the grandma. Dibs.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot coming up, and the exciting thing is it's all pretty much on a budget, and all things that I'm excited about, which is literally everything. So
well, and I think, and that's so great. So guys, TikTok, all the things, Instagram is one of my favorites of yours.
Yeah. Instagram's the big one, of course, because I take so many photos, right? So that's where you're going to see everything.
But there's more stories on Facebook, I noticed too. So I know the interactivity and things like that is on.
They kind of each have their own purpose, right? So Instagram is where I'm posting like real-time updates of things that I'm doing that have nice photos. Facebook, you're going to get larger galleries of things, and it kind of pulls together everything, links from the blog, Instagram stuff, videos from TikTok. Of course, TikTok is what TikTok's for, video. So I try to not overlap too much, because why have multiple platforms if you're doing the exact same thing with all of them, right?
Makes sense. Different. Well, I wish, I mean, because I love my TikTok, right? But and Facebook's like, but Facebook's where like 98% of my business comes from. So when people hire me, it's because, and yesterday I got a message from someone out of the blue, I'm leaving Facebook, but I just want to tell you, you were one of my favorite things and you got me through some hard times. And I was like, that's so sweet. I guess I'll just stay on, because it's like, I call it the old people place now. My kids are like, who's on Facebook?
My kids say that all the time.
I know. Okay. So your people are going to follow you. Next week is next week the 1st?
It is.
Okay, next week we will have an announcement, but definitely come here. We will be on, go to the Jenn Hayward show or to Sarah. We can't tell you why, but we will not be going from our personal pages next week, only business pages, but we have an announcement. And I won't lie, it's probably going to be announced before Tuesday, but Sarah will be the first show. That's all I can tell you on something kind of cool happening, but I'll probably announce it tomorrow, the next day. So tomorrow, definitely come by at 5:00. We have a Miss World contestant, Ottawa's representative. On Thursday, we have Thursdays and Friday. I have been just not showing up. So I'm like literally the worst.
Really?
I just didn't show up. I completely forgot. I went away for my anniversary and I forgot I had booked someone in the whole thing. And I
could have hosted for you.
Yeah, again, I forgot. If I remembered that I forgot, I would have dealt with it. But it was like we were on the road because of the road conditions. We expected to be there much sooner. And we got to our location at 8:00. And I was like, I missed my show. But because we're on Freedom Network now, not Rogers, and I like them so much better, except for in those small pockets where you don't have service. Yeah. I was like, I can't even let anyone know. So people will figure it out when I'm not online. So we'll definitely have to work on, and I think about it now, I have your phone number. I could have just had you do it, but that's okay. Good things are coming. So as always, Adventure Seeker Sarah, you guys follow her, give her those likes and that love. She is on to something with her adventure seeking. Josh is on to something with that beer thing, and follow along every day here because the announcement will be made when I'm able to make it. Ambiguous. I want to thank everyone for coming by. This Tuesday is my favorite day of the week to talk to Sarah. I don't even like do my hair or makeup. I'm like, because we're just in it. Like, this isn't someone I'm trying to impress. I'm like, what? And like, I'm going to show you guys a secret. I'm going to show people who are watching that I'm not really next to a brick wall. I'm in my really shitty room. And we are making this into a sound room. We're just like 3 weeks late doing it. So if anyone has any foam, let me know. Thank you to Adventure Seeker Sarah. I'll see everyone tomorrow. I have no tagline. That's my tagline.